This is our stage level room, and we have all the things we use daily available here. So smaller things, tambourines, triangles, slapsticks, snare drums, field drums, and every shape and size. All the woods, small woods, wood blocks, temple blocks, beaters, sound effect type stuff, regular cowbells, it's all stored up here. And you can see we have a really wide variety of stuff like this for the same reason that it's not obvious how to find the right sound for the right. We might have an idea for Mahler, Germanic music. We have areas we go towards for American music. We have areas we go towards, but it's a wide palette. So we have a lot of options. Bronze and steel are the main metals for ringing percussion instruments. And then these snare drums, actually in here happen to all be, these are all brass. This drum, our timpanist, Paul Jančić, used to have a drum company. And this was the Clevelander Drum Company. He made this drum. It's a 1/2-inch thick brass. It weighs about 50 pounds, so it's a very heavy drum. And then, like a lot of great orchestras collections, this was here. It was a retired member's, someone I never worked with, Bob Matson. So he would have been here with Zell, and this was his drum, and he used it all the time, and it stayed with the orchestra when he retired. And we have a lot of instruments like that, especially snare drums, cymbals, triangles, tambourines, things that are part of the sound of the orchestra, especially on recordings. And we still use all of them. These slapsticks were made by a bass player in the Chicago Symphony who was a woodworker as a hobby, and he makes them out of bamboo, and it's almost like they're amplified. They're they're the loudest instrument. You have to be very careful. You could like really damage someone's hearing with these things, you know. And that's doing nothing. If I really, you know, you have things like this, they're huge, but they don't make that kind of sound. Bows. I don't know if anybody saw the Unsuk Chin on Medici, but we were bowing vibraphones. So we always need a stash of bows, cymbals, endless amounts of cymbals. I mean, it's just so endless. Sound effects, pop guns, siren whistles, Brazilian cuica. This has a stick attached to the head, so when you have a rosined cloth or a damp cloth, you drag it and it amplifies the sound. Castanets, sandpaper blocks, bird calls, ankle bells, you know, stuff like that. Deer hoof chimes, bells. Claves, finger cymbals. The greats, you know, you have little ones, obviously different sizes up to very big ones, but the great thing about stuff like this is that every time we go on tour to somewhere new, some of us in the section go searching for stuff like this. We find drum shops or music shops, or some of these are healing shops, you know, some of the Tibetan instruments, and we're always looking for things to add to the collection, our personal collection or otherwise. So here are some of these cymbals handmade in Constantinople in the 20s. These belonged to Emil Scholli, who was the cymbal player. He was a second violinist and then became percussionist and became the cymbal player under George Zell. So, and then acquired these instruments, and his family generously donated them to the orchestra. What else? So, we have ratchets of every size. This one also made by that woodworker from the Chicago Symphony. It has a volume control, so it can be nothing, or I can squeeze this together to control how much friction or tension is put on these. So and then various old ones that are quite loud, and they get louder and softer and smaller. Believe it or not, some of that stuff is the hardest to find of quality. So it's nice to have a collection of those weird little things. Maracas, these come from Venezuela. Harmonicas, a whole collection, every key harmonicas. More bird calls, lots of wood blocks, every size. You know, these are Japanese piccolo wood blocks. They're extremely high. And then more traditional. Actually, I bought this and I have not used it yet, but it sounds unbelievable. This I bought from a percussionist who was in the Nexus percussion group. It's one of the first and most famous American percussion ensemble. And they toured all over the world all the time playing. And he's retired, so he's sold. I just thought, it's on the original stand. I'm gonna have, with the help of our great stage crew, I'm gonna have this modified to fit on more modern hardware, so we can take it on stage and use it, but these sound so good. It's kind of a major. Sometimes you buy this stuff with the foresight that it will be modernized and used because it sounds incredible. This drum too, I bought from the same person. This drum is pre-war Germany, made in Dresden. It's the Dresdener snare drum company. And they had a unique system, patented system. These are calfskin drum heads on the top and bottom. And this is silk strings with wire wrapped around it. And they have a system here. We call this our strainer, but it has, you can put different tension on the outside strings or the inside strings. And it's it's part of my collection, but we've used it in the orchestra. Cabasas guns, starter pistols, spoons, ruta, a bundle of sticks you play on the shell of a drum in a Mahler symphony. These are all our church bell beaters for the different bells. These are Chinese opera cymbals, or Peking opera. Small cowbells that we've used for hanging. Hardware, you know, percussionists sometimes maintenance and stage crew types, and sometimes librarian types. We're always doing our own maintenance, including dealing with skin drum heads, you know, fixing instruments. So we have like these things, all this hardware is if we play a piece of new music and you want everything to be set up, you know, on one stand, you can clamp this additional things to a cymbal stand to have a variety of like cowbells and blocks or whatever you need to mount. It's just hardware for that. Bongos, congas, snare drums, timbales. It's sort of endless, the amount of things we have here. Even though it's never ending because we're growing the collection all the time.